everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Fourtress of a podcast about movies, TV shows, video games, and lots of pop culture and nerd things. My name is Oscar. I'll be one of your hosts today. And with me, per usual, are two of your other hosts. We got Brian, a.k.a. The Beard, also known as New Reliable, and Mr. Negative on a Dragon Ball Z Redemption arc. And Devin, also known as The Brains and Mr. Nowhere. And until he sees Blue Beetle, we're going to call him something that we'll censor.
The racist.
Not seeing Blue Beetle equals seeing Birth of a Nation. So.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Yeah, so it's just Devin and Brian, guys. How you guys doing today? On this we're recording during the daylight, guys, and it's kind of nice.
The sun is beaming on my face. I'm getting vitamin D while recording.
Yeah. Maybe I can be awake. No, it's good. I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Yeah, so we got a pretty fun, interesting packed show today, guys.
Are you
as
sure?
usual.
You didn't sound so excited.
Well, let's go. I'm excited. We'll get to it. I'm sad this movie's gonna make no money, but we'll talk about it later. As usual, listeners, check the time codes if you want to avoid any spoilers or skip sections or do whatever that. It's all down there. But with that, guys, should we now hop into our first segment of the week?
Hey,
let's do it.
News talk.
First piece of news. We've been doing a lot of like RIPs of fake things, fake technologies lately, I feel. Let's add this one to the list. So come July 2024, the Xbox 360 storefront will be shutting down.
No.
The funny thing is, this is how terrible Microsoft's like names of their consoles are. I thought the Xbox 360 was the last console. I forgot that there was a one.
Yeah. You know, the console that came out in 2006 or something like that.
I totally forgot.
Everyone else did too, because no one bought it.
Yeah, that would be a problem. I'm honestly kind of more shocked that the 360 store was still up because it's been a while.
I mean, outside of like, as far as like gaming goes, Xbox 360 is like up there as far as like they were making games for it for like way too long. The same way they were like PlayStation 2,
right?
And like N64. So like that was a really high selling console. So I would not be surprised if they were still making like FIFAs for Xbox 360 as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I'm pretty sure the PS3 store is still operational, at least. I think you can still buy stuff on it. I would imagine if Sony sees this and they think they might end up doing the same thing, which is a shame because they're, at least until we get Metal Gear 4, that's the only way to play that fucking game.
Damn.
You better go buy that shit now.
Right, yeah, right. It's interesting because recently I actually did Call of Duty relisted their online services for their games.
Right.
So I know a lot of people are playing that right now. So that might have led to a lot of people buying it on the Xbox 360 game store. I guess you could still have backwards compatibility with their stuff too. I'm not sure if it's still sold on the new game stores, but some people that maybe you haven't played video games in a while but loved Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 maybe bought it on that store.
Yeah.
Old days.
It is interesting. Like, how much money? Because I feel like it doesn't cost that much to keep this shit open forever.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, like, I don't know what the purpose of it is other than, like, you've done some data analysis and seen that no one's really purchased a lot and it's not worth it. But it's just interesting, you know?
Yeah, you're always going to bare bones it as a company. That's just the unfortunate reality of capitalism. That you're never going to do anything solely because it, for the prosperity sake. You're always going to do it because you just want to save, that little bit of server space that you're using up for that. Fuck that. We can put more Fortnite on there. You know what I mean? Like, so shit like that is what causes that, I'm sure.
Or like, sales decline to a point where it's like, okay, we're losing more money every month than we're making. So it's like, it just makes no sense. Like, the three people that are still using the store, sorry, go get an Xbox One.
Well, yeah, I guess that also it makes more sense for Xbox than Sony because you can play most of the 360 games on
the current gen systems
and also the Xbox One, whereas PS3 that shit was locked.
Yeah,
a lot of that shit to that there was no backwards compatibility with the PS4, so I guess that makes a little more sense now that I think about it.
Yeah, just redundant.
This makes me think about like when you do go and like turn on an old system and you try to find an online game or something and it's just like a barren wasteland and it's just it's sad, man.
-1 players online. I was playing something recently that was like that had nothing on it. We went onto an online game and there was not a single person playing it. It was like, oh,
sad, dude.
That's sad.
This once was a beautiful place of bustling people. No longer a graveyard.
It's sad. Yeah. All right. Next piece of news. We already know with the success of Barbie that, according to Variety, Hasbro has already set up a new division called Hasbro Entertainment that they're going to try to make every fucking toy a fucking property of some kind and make all the money. Obviously, one of them being NERF. listeners, if you don't know what NERF is, and I don't know how you don't, it's basically guns that shoot out. Guns that have become more and more realistic and terrifying as they went. Like when we got them, they look like big bazookas and not realistic. Now it's like they're like real guns. It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
I love that whenever there seems like such an easy like fucking softball of a situation of like, okay, we learned this from this movie. Let's take this and make it more, make it better, and make more money. They somehow always manage to pick the wrong thing. Like how,
Mhm.
and that's what makes me so mad when people talk about how like millionaires, billionaires, and CEOs like deserve the money they make. Because how do you see the Barbie movie and see its fucking success and don't think, oh, we should make more movies about feminism and women? They say, no, we should make more movies about toys.
Right.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah,
Are you dumb? What's going on here? Also, it's really funny because one of our old episodes that we were doing where we wanted to do the Barbieheimer thing, one of my
Yeah.
ideas was make a military movie with Nerf guns.
Yep.
Saving Private Ryan with Nerf guns.
Yes, Brian, allow me to pose to you a counterpoint. What if it's just like Barbie, where it's like an anti-war movie, and it gets really into like some nitty-gritty, like
You know what?
war is hell kind of shit. Like
That
you
would
know.
be sick.
It's like a movie. Like they've banned all other real guns. They banned bullets and real things. Like all you're allowed to use in warfare are Nerf guns now.
I just
Yeah.
immediately think, I don't know if you guys have played like the newer Star Wars games, like the Lego Star Wars, not newest Star Wars, the newest Lego games, like the Lego Star Wars games and stuff, where they stopped doing like reenactments of like this stuff that did that without any voice acting. They just take the movie clips and then put the Lego characters in it. So it's like so funny
Right.
when like a character kills another character or something. So they just blow up into Lego blocks and it's like,
Yeah.
Anakin, no, you were the chosen one. He just fucking destroys it.
Yeah. That's basically it.
So I just think that with Nerf
But
guns.
from the Barbie movie, this like I'm just picturing like the Ken fight on the beach, which could be
Yeah.
oh, spoiler alert. But like if it's something goofy like that, but I just don't know how you maintain that for a whole, 2 hours.
Right. Well, let me tell you. Well, because according to Brooklyn Nine-Nine writer Van, I'm not even going to try to pronounce their last name, Robert Chow. I don't know if I said that right. Apparently, this Nerf movie almost existed before, where he quote, "I pitched the Nerf idea. I loved a few back. They didn't go for it. Get a Rock, a Hemsworth, any big action stars, hire a great action director, and do a normal action movie, but every weapon's a Nerf weapon." Basically,
Love
what
it.
we've been talking about.
I love that.
I don't know if you could sustain that for 90 minutes, though.
No.
I was about to say, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a hit or miss comedy for sure.
True.
I don't know. Like that seems like a funny SNL sketch.
Exactly.
Yeah, or like a 15-minute YouTube video.
Yeah.
Or something, but
I don't know.
I don't know, man. But see, again, like maybe they make it something that hits you deep, kind of like Barbie unexpectedly did. Like, maybe one day we're sitting here talking like Saving Private Ryan, All Quiet on the Western Front, and then the Nerf movie.
The most traumatic part of that movie is someone takes a Nerf dart to the eye.
But I want it to be really dramatic. I don't want it to be funny at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I want them to be like holding him and he's like, I'm not going to make it.
I want it to be like John Wick, but with Nerf guns.
Oh, fantastic.
That'd be amazing. I saw a recent edit where they did that. They put like different noises instead of the gun noises for John
Oh,
Wick.
that's right. You said. I forgot about that. That was fun.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Whatever. Anyways, moving on. Quick 2 pieces of news. Remember how we all loved Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? Remember how there's a scene in that where at the opening it's Scott Lang selling his memoir. Apparently, you can now pre-order that because they have now made it a real thing. Yeah, because we were talking about this briefly before. There ain't no way Paul Rudd touched this at all. I want to know who actually wrote it. I want to know how long it is. It's funny. I'm not gonna get it. I'll wait till someone else gets it and tells me the highlights.
Is it actual, or is it just an empty, like it's a cover and then it's just white pages?
It better have something in it because it's $23.99. What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm about to say.
Oh my God.
It's 11% off right now. Actually, it's actually the normal price $26.99, so it's $23.99 right now. There better be some goddamn words in that book.
Man,
Oh, it's just a pop-up book.
there are so many books in the world that are worth reading, man. There's so many books. There's a lot of books that are not worth reading. You go to like Barnes and Noble and you see like some other new sportscaster has like made a book about themselves for some reason.
What?
But like this book is not worth reading. Like why waste paper to make the
But Devin,
pages?
what if this is the key to the entire Kang Dynasty? What if this book holds the key to the future of the FC?
Maybe it is, man.
My favorite thing is the commitment to the bit. So it's 224 pages. I'm reading the Amazon thing right now, and they have like I buy books from Amazon all the time, and they talk about like from the publisher, and then they talk about like the little blurbs and stuff like that. all the blurbs are from Avengers, like Captain America, Doctor Strange, and stuff like that. And they just put in this like it's normal. And also about the author is Scott Lang. It's not Paul Rudd.
That's funny.
It says Scott
Right.
Lang
That's
on there.
funny.
And then it talks about him as if you can even follow him, as if he's a real author that makes books.
That's funny.
But it's not. Like,
I like the commitment to the
What
bit.
if this is just the next stage of the MCU? So instead of having to watch all the movies now you
Oh my
actually have to start
God.
reading books and then watch the movies and the
I
show.
refuse.
And then you have to start buying the toys, which they have certain elements in there as well.
Oh
So
no.
you just got to keep on expanding your frontiers. They'll make a video game at some point. And you'll have to play through that to get the full story.
I was about to say, like the Matrix, we had to play through Matrix Online in order to get the full story.
Right.
It's just the next phase, man.
Eventually, it's gonna just get back to reading comic books.
They're just trying to guide us back.
The prophecy has fulfilled itself.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. All right. Moving on to our final piece of news. This is real quick. Guys, Barbie beat Batman's ass and left him dead in the streets with his
Damn.
parents. Because Barbie has officially surpassed The Dark Knight to become the highest grossing domestic release in Warner Brothers history.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
I knew this movie was gonna do something to like, the counterculture of the internet, but I had no idea it was gonna be this much of a phenomenon, honestly, for lack of a better word. This is crazy.
I love it.
It's pretty great. Like that's ridiculous. I've known people that have seen it 4 times. I'm like, God dang. Woo!
Listen, I almost bought me a Barbie shirt, but I was like, it's a little too on the nose. It's too soon. I'll wait a little bit. I saw one at Target.
Yo,
and I was
man,
like,
I'm still debating if I'm gonna buy that $60 I Am Knuff sweater.
Ooh, yeah, I want that. I do want that. I think this Halloween, like my girlfriend was saying, like, oh, like, do we really want to go as Ken and Barbie for this Halloween? Because everybody else is going to be doing it. I'm like, do you really want to be the people that don't go as Ken and Barbie this Halloween? Like, it's going to be a phenomenon. You got to get in on it.
The only thing
year,
about that I thought about is like Ken and Barbie aren't a couple. It's established at the end of that movie that Barbie does not like Ken. So be worried.
True, that's true. She has
Couple's
her own
costume,
car,
but you're not a
her
couple.
own dream house. Dang. We'll just break up for a day. There you go.
Oh, it's funny. But yeah, congrats, Barbie. I'm so happy. I'll just make all the money in the world, and then let's watch capitalism ruin it in a couple years. But yes, that is the news, guys. We've done it once again. Shall we now move on to our main topic of the week? In which case, we will say goodbye to Devin. I don't want to be too mean, so we'll save.
Sorry, guys. I got my meeting. I got to go. Instead of watching Blue Beetle.
All right, Devin. We'll see you in a bit, man. All right, Brian. It's me and you and our main topic of the week. But first, listeners, as usual, we're trapped in the fortress. This is a fortress. Let's face it. There's like 4 people in this fortress. Nobody's here. It ain't making no money. But there's a lot of family because we in the fortress of
Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle.
And actually, I will say, for going to a matinee on a Saturday at one of the probably lowest grossing theaters in my area, there was a decent amount of people in there. I was actually surprised.
Yeah?
I thought I was gonna literally be either the only one, or it was only gonna be me and another person. But I actually maybe saw like 10, 12 people in there.
Oh wow,
which
okay.
It sounds like nothing.
It's not a lot, but
if you live anywhere where people exist, it sounds like nothing. But at this theater, I tell you, no one goes to this theater. I've gone to Thursday night premieres of movies and still sat with 5 people. Like,
wow. Okay.
so, I was surprised.
Yeah, when I saw it, there was probably like 3 other couples, so like 6 people, 6 to 8 people in this theater. Granted, I saw it like in the middle, like a matinee as well. So, we'll talk about it. Yes, listeners, we're in the fortress of Blue Beetle, the newest DC film. Apparently, once again, maybe the start of James Gunn's new universe. He says that about everything at this point. We'll see if what the fate of Jaime Reyes is by the end of this. No spoilers from the top. Obviously, we'll briefly no spoilers. Me and Brian talked about this a bit after we both saw this movie. I really fucking love this movie, man. I don't know. Like I texted you. I was like, I don't know if it was my expectations were so low or just the culture of it all obviously got to me. But I came out of this movie going, fuck, they did it. They made a solid fucking movie. I can't believe it.
It's really honestly wild. Against all expectations. It's just so funny seeing like the dissonance between this and the Flash for me. And I know I keep comparing it to the Flash when we've been talking about it, but it's so funny how much praise and all this
Right.
marketing and all this shit that was coming out for the Flash, and then how much of a dumpster fire it was to me. And then how this movie was damn near non-existent, had the worst trailers I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
It really felt like it was going to set up to be Shazam 2 for me, if not worse, like a Black
Right.
Adam level of just being like just a really awful generic movie. And it it's good.
It's good.
It's good. It is one of the better movies I've seen of this year for sure.
Yeah.
And definitely one of the better DC movies I've seen in recent years. And that's so sad that it's gonna make so much less money than some of the worst movies I've ever seen before in my life, like Justice League. Like
Honestly, I talked about this before Devin left when we for a moment. It was the perfect storm of shit in terms of this was originally going to be a Max or HBO Max at the time movie, straight to their movie, and then they decided to give it a theatrical run, which is cool. But obviously, with that, it's a lower budget movie just because that's how those things go. So they didn't really have much faith in it. It seemed they didn't put any effort into the marketing. It seemed, and the strikes are going on, so no one could promote the movie. None of those actors could walk a premiere, walk a carpet, talk about this movie. I'm just like, God damn it, my people can't catch a break for this one. I'm like, come, can we catch a goddamn break?
it's so unfortunate that happened, because that just like a normal audience isn't gonna know this movie even exists. I don't feel like.
No one knows what Blue Beetle is.
And that's the thing. And that's like, if anyone was gonna make this work, it would have been like something under the James Gunn, note or whatever. Because Guardians of the Galaxy was an
Right.
unknown thing. That's an incredibly high grossing movie. So I was like, well, but then I just knew that like Flash did badly, and I was like, Flash is a known character, so Flash can't make it. There's no
Yeah.
way in hell this movie's gonna make its money
No,
back at
it's
least. You know what I mean? And that sucks so bad, because this
It
could
sucks.
easily be the Spider-Man of their universe, like, which is what they
Absolutely.
kind of need. Like Flash is kind of playing on that role as well, being like the quirky one-liner kind of person. But like,
Mhm.
this movie does so many things right that I really wanted to see.
Yeah.
It could have been your people's Black Panther.
It honestly, like, this is what I was about to say. I might be wrong, but it's been 25 years since my people had a hero in 1998 with the Legend of Zorro. And 25 years. And what do we have after that? We had fucking Puss in Boots, which is just Cat Zorro. That's all we got in the past 25 years.
It's time for y'all to have your flowers, and I don't understand. And I have some criticisms with that around this character as well, that we're gonna kind of talk about.
Yeah.
Just being a person of color myself and being Black, like, yeah, there's some things that I'm like, do we need more of this? You know what I mean? But we'll get
Mhm.
kind of into that. But no, I'm ready to talk heavy into this movie, because
Yeah.
I want it to make money, and I know it won't. And
I know. I'm probably gonna see it again at least once. I know after I saw it, I talked to my mother about it, and I was like, "You gotta go see this movie, Ma. You gotta go see this movie." And she's like, "You know what? It sounds good. I'll go see it. Okay." I'm slightly disappointed where my people at. Like, can we go? Can we storm the streets and go see this
listen,
goddamn movie?
y'all
for
need
Christ's
to Barbieheimer this, and I need everyone to come up dressed up. We go see. We're filling out the theaters. What do you mean?
Let's go. Come on. We'll have a barbecue in the theater. Let's
Listen,
go.
I want to see it like Black Panther. They had the Black people dressing in all white and shit. I want to see that for this
Right?
movie. Let's get this shit
Come
going.
on.
Come on.
Yeah, because honestly, like, before we get into spoilers, this movie has more family than Fast X, and I was just like, I believed in this family more than in that Fast and Furious franchise.
It felt like a real family, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just get into spoilers then. So obviously both of us go see it, listeners. Tell people to see it. I think it's just a good movie. It's just a fun, good time. And like it surprised me in a lot of ways that we'll talk about it in just a moment in terms of the plot and the family aspect. I was like, oh fuck, let's go. Okay, I'm into this. All right. So with that, spoilers from here on out, listeners. I just have to mention, obviously, like the cultural thing was a big deal for me, and so I just started laughing when the first 5 minutes in a movie with the as soon as he comes to Palmera City, which is a fake city, because I was funny. I was sitting there, because I will say I took my father to go see this movie, which that definitely I think had an impact in me at certain points in this movie that we'll talk about in a second. But it was just me and him. I took him to go see that, which is funny because both of us were like not looking forward to this movie. Not gonna lie, like we were both like, I guess so. Let's go see it. I'm like, I gotta go see it. Do you want to come, Dad? Do you want to come with me? He's like, okay, I guess so. And so, but like the first 5 minutes when they play that song by Kaya 13 at the end, as he gets back from the airport, I'm like, all right, oh, they're going all in. Let's go. Let's get into this shit. Let's get into it. But yeah, like I mean, like Brian, because I will say one of the things that I enjoyed about this movie, from my aspect of it, is this movie does not care if some of the cultural jokes go over your head. They don't subtitle every single thing that they say in Spanish. They're like they're very choosy on some of the
Yeah,
subtitles what they
yeah.
say. And I'm like, they don't care. They're just all into it. And I kind of loved it.
Yeah, no, and that's what I think that's what I appreciate so much, and that's what I kind of liked about Miss Marvel. I think a lot about Miss Marvel when I think about this,
Yes.
because it definitely has a lot of the same overtones when it comes to like family and then the culture difference, and how that kind of affects them and what they're going through. And I love that they fully went into it. 'Cause so much of what I've hated with like Disney, especially, is how much they'll water down to kind of appeal to a broader audience. Where it's like, I
Right.
get why you're doing that, but also we've had so many fundamentally white things that we need some more fundamentally colored things to exist.
Yeah.
And even if you don't necessarily get it, that's your opportunity to learn more about that culture that you might not know. So I thought that was phenomenal. Just to start with that, some of the needle drops were like, oh, like I know this fucking song because of the people that I know and the cultures that I've been
Yeah.
around. But like a lot of people, they probably wouldn't know. They probably would have preferred a really generic one instead.
Right.
So I
Right.
really fucked with that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed. I don't know why I didn't expect it, just because again, I think it might have come from the trailers just weren't very good.
I don't know who cut that trailer, but they need to not cut any more trailers because this looked like the most generic nothing.
Yeah.
Even the most recent trailer that came out before this came out that told you a little bit more of the story. It just felt like a giant nothing sandwich. So
Right.
that's what maybe I had no
Absolutely.
hype about this, and like it's crazy that I probably would have had I even if they just even played a different song in the trailer, I would have been like, oh shit, okay,
Maybe.
like
Honestly, I think it's like a blessing and a curse because it might have impacted how much I like this movie because I didn't know much or expect much going in. So
right.
it's a weird double-edged sword in a way. But yeah, we'll get back to culture stuff as we talk throughout this. But let's talk about the probably the heart of this movie. The biggest positive of this movie is not just Jaime Reyes, but his entire family. Man, George Lopez was good in this somehow.
And he had no business being good. Like as soon as I saw his character, and like they kind of really fucked up with the way they did his hair and stuff, because obviously
Yeah.
that's some it's not real hair, whatever. So I was kind of like, oh man, he looks really fucking stupid. They're just gonna make him be the butt of some jokes and then call it a day.
Right.
No, this man really sells like being the weird brown uncle.
The conspiracy theory
Yeah.
uncle. Yeah.
It's like a lot of families of color have that uncle that's like kind of weird, kind of fringe. We don't invite him to a lot because it's like he's the disclaimer family member where you have to talk to, like
Right.
Uncle Rudy.
He might
He's a
say
little
some
fucking,
shit that yeah.
like,
No, he did a great job. Like, he does a really good balance of like obviously like not every joke lands that he has in this movie, but for the most part, he nails the comedy aspect and he's got some heartfelt moments and conversations in this movie that like one specifically I was like, he's doing a really good job in this.
like it really felt believable when he was riding for his people. You know what I mean? He was like, "No,
Yeah.
you're my family. I'm gonna do what I need to do to keep my family safe." And I was like,
I mean, yeah, he has the line that like it's obviously so on the nose, but it got to me obviously where he's like, maybe it's time we get our own hero, and I was like, that's when he's trying to motivate Jaime towards the final act. I'm like, yeah, I'm like I felt that it was the same way I felt. Brian, you would know this. I'm glad you're here because I had a conversation with you after playing The Walking Dead season 3 for the first time. I was like, yo, I didn't know that this is about brown people in this shit. I didn't know
and
that.
they go deep into it as that as well. That I just love that we need more
Yeah.
like that. Like,
Yeah, it was just very cool. He does have one of the funniest lines where it's Jaime's first day. He's going to court, and obviously that's the big government, blah blah blah. So obviously Rudy, the Uncle George Lopez character, does not like, and he says, "You look like an asshole like everyone else here. Bring a Molotov cocktail and burn this place down." Like just screaming it.
he's yelling all of this while they're on the campus of this giant corporation,
Yes.
and all those people are actively walking down the street and just staring at him like,
It's so funny.
"What the fuck, bro?"
Oh my god, yeah. So he was great. He was fantastic, man. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it's some good stuff. How healthy distaste for the government. I fuck with that. I like that right
I
there.
mean, yeah.
It helps them out in the end, so that's good.
He also has one of the funniest running jokes personally because they don't it's one of those things again they don't explain in the movie where he's constantly calling Jaime Cabezon in the movie. And that is basically he's saying he has a big head. He's calling him big head. Like, I'm gonna go look for that big head over there in a second.
Mm.
And it's funny because one, obviously that's like if anyone has seen the George Lopez show, that's a running joke in that show. And for him as a human being, that he has a big head. So he's been called that in his own show as well, and he called himself that. So I thought that was very funny. And also, before that, the first time he said it in the movie, Jaime first turns into Blue Beetle in that first fight scene that we'll talk about later. I was like, the costumes look so good. It's comic accurate. It looks great. But damn, that dude got a big head on him. And so when he calls him that later, I was dying. I'm like, oh, that's so good. I love that they addressed it. It was so
God.
funny.
Yeah, no, that's really, really good. I really love that they have some kind of callbacks with that. And then yeah, like you said, like that's another one of those jokes that it's like, well, if you don't know what that means, you're not gonna really care about it at any point.
Right.
And then you see that.
But it's there, and it's there for
Right.
it's there for the culture, for the people that would edit,
I
and I think that's
noticed
totally fine.
they use pendejo a lot. But then
Yes.
they would never include it in the subtitles. And I always found that really interesting that whenever they would say it at the end of it, it's like, well, I guess if you don't speak Spanish, you probably wouldn't really care about that. And you would think that it's all accurate on the subtitles. A lot of the times,
Right.
the subtitles just weren't straight accurate to what they were actually
No,
saying.
not at all. Not at all, dude.
And I thought that was really interesting. That I was like, oh, okay, maybe they're trying to make jokes for people of color and be like, oh, I know what he's saying. I get what he's trying to get across right there.
Right.
But yeah, I always found that interesting.
Yeah, I always find that interesting how like where the translations go, because a lot of the times in many different medias they're not very accurate, and I don't know if that's for like a mainstream thing or what, but it is interesting, you know. Yeah.
I definitely noticed that a couple of times. I was like, huh. And then sometimes, like you said, they just straight didn't subtitle it at all. And I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
What you think of Jaime? One as a character and two as the actor Jolo, who he's actually 22 in real life, so he's a young
Oh,
actor.
damn.
So I think he did a pretty good job for what he had. He doesn't have much to do in terms of character stuff. There is one element that we'll talk about in a bit that I think a stronger actor would have done better with, but for the most part, I thought he was fine. He was good.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling about where you feel. Like you said, I don't think he got an opportunity to show his chops really.
Mhm.
So it kind of just felt like he was getting upstaged by everybody. It was kind of
Right.
a Gal Gadot situation where I feel like whenever someone else came on the screen, they were a lot more infectious than he was.
Mhm.
But maybe he's kind of going through the anime protagonist kind of situation where it's like maybe you don't need to
A
feel
little bit.
so strongly about him because more of the other characters around him that makes him great.
He's got like two modes in this, and it's like screaming and then like, what's going on? So, you know?
And that's the thing. It's like I could definitely tell that they were trying to like Spider-Man him up. We talked about this a little bit off air about how I heard that his whole
Mhm.
origin story was pretty Spider-Man-ish, but I didn't really know what extent it went to until we fucking saw this movie. Goddamn.
Fuck.
But I felt like even the quips that they tried to give him, not many of them landed super well to me.
Yeah.
Some of his jokes were kind of like, ah. I mean, I get it, but I'm not laughing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Right. They're not.
I don't know if that's his
Yeah.
delivery. Maybe just not. He doesn't have the comedic aspect down, or maybe it's just like the jokes are written poorly. I don't know. But a lot of them, like whenever he
Yeah.
told a joke, I was like, eh. Then George Lopez says something I'm like, haha, that's funny. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, fuck.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The comedic timing wasn't always quite there. Yeah. So I think he's got a lot of room to grow if they give him the chance
I
to.
hope they do.
Which I hope they
Yeah.
do. But yeah. I think he did he did his job well enough for what the movie asked him to do. You know?
He gives me kind of the same issue, and this is he can't change this. He looks how he looks, but it's kind of like Aladdin, where it's just like the main actor just looks a little too generic for me.
He looks a bit
Yeah,
mannequin-y.
that it's a little bit hard for me to like. You know, he's not a face that I'm going to think of later when I think of like where to put him if you want to go into another role outside of this. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Tom Holland's
right.
done a good job of kind of reestablishing himself because he's a pretty standard looking white man himself.
He is. Yeah.
But now that I've seen him in more stuff, I kind of can get it down more. But I definitely have the same issue with him too, where it's like he looks a little too normal person, but also not.
He looks like the first like the first like NPC you could choose from when you start
exactly
a
like if
game.
I played Prince of Persia and I had to create the character, he would be the first one to pop up. Like,
Right. No, yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah. We'll continue to talk about it in a second. I did want to highlight the most traumatic fucking bit of this movie. The father. There's a very good father-son dynamic in this movie, which obviously influenced my reactions to it. As I said, I
You
took
brought
my
your
father to
dad
go see
with
this.
you.
So it was I'm not gonna lie, it was rough. It was rough to watch this movie for a while because there's a really good scene in the beginning of the movie when he first comes back where he goes out in his to see his dad, who both of them can't sleep. And it's about purpose, and it's again, a lot of this is paint by number stuff, but for some reason this movie just did it really well. Like we've seen that scene of like what is my purpose in life? And he's like, I don't know. You'll find it one day. I don't even know what it is. I'm still searching too, type of thing. And it's like, it's really well done though, from both actors. And then obviously we kick into Schrodinger's heart attack that I can't believe I didn't see coming. You called it, and I was just like, shit.
I can't believe you didn't notice. I noticed immediately. Just to touch back on that kind of point between him and them, I think the cultural aspect is really what weighs heavy on it because you know what they went through to get to that point. So to still have that
Yeah.
opportunity to tell you that you still can search for your purpose when this man, fought tooth and nail to give you the opportunity to find your purpose.
Right.
I think that's what hit me personally, because it's like that's such an age-old tale of these kinds of these people.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So like that really made it hit that much harder. That it's like he still like loves his son, even though his son doesn't really know where he's going in his life. He's trying to do
Mhm.
his best to be as good as he can, and this man is just doing his best. He's doing
He's
his best with
still
what he's got.
tipping 25%, even though they can't afford
When they
it.
can't afford it. That's another thing that it's just like, well, they deserve it. We'll worry about money later. Like that was a big thing that like my grandmother was big on that. That she
Right.
was one of the most kind people and one of the most heartfelt when it came to those kinds of things. Broke as a bitch, but would always would always try to find some money to help someone else out, and that kind of hit me kind of funny too. Where I was like, oh damn, that's
Yeah.
I had family situations like that they would you argue at the table a little bit like we don't
We
got
can't
that.
do
It's like,
right.
no, don't worry about it. Money will come back. It's fine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that kind of
Yeah.
little shit. But yeah, I straight in the heights. As soon as someone tells you they're fine, as soon as they tell you they're okay, like don't worry about me, mijo. I'm
Which
okay. I'll be
I
okay.
felt
They're
so
not
dumb.
okay. They're never gonna be. They're dead. They're dead right then and there. That
Oh
always
God.
happens.
Yeah, I can't believe I just don't know. I didn't even think about it. They had that conversation about, oh, dad had a heart attack, blah, blah, blah. You see him take the pills that did it. I was like, oh, anyways, moving on. Just over my head. Completely not.
As soon as I saw it
Oh,
was a
it's
family
hilarious.
aspect, I was like, grandma's dead. And then they had that conversation. I was like, scratch that. Dad's dead. Okay.
Right.
Let's wait for that to happen because that's going to suck.
And boy, does it. Because let's just jump to this. As we were saying, the it hit me like, obviously they're getting rated, which that is. There's a lot of like themes in this of real life things, like, and one of the most I literally wrote down, I was like, "Ooh, storming the house with flashlights, oof." Like, that shot of the soldiers pointing a gun with a flashlight at the family crowded in a tiny dark room. I was like, "Damn. Y'all saying some stuff here."
And they didn't have to. They didn't have to
No.
do that, but they chose to. And I was like, this is so, first of all, fucking triggering for anybody that like knows that life experience. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
fuck. Like that's a fear of a lot of people, like in real
Mhm.
life. Like, uh, but yeah, like a lot of the shots and a lot of the way they chose to do things really was like, y'all went all in. And I hope people understand that. Like,
Yeah. I hope so too. Yeah. There's a lot, and obviously, like, side tangent, obviously, there's talks of gentrification in this movie with the whole Palmetto City. There's that shot with him and his sister on the roof drinking beers, and you can just see across the street is just the giant
they
neon
went real
city.
hard. But they're like straight Johannesburg in South Africa or something. Like you live in a
Right.
shanty town and
Yeah.
fucking shit.
And it's like, okay, yeah, like, but I like that they don't go so on the nose with it. It's like they leave room for you to think about these things rather than be like, "Look at it," It's, type of thing, and there's a little bit of wiggle room there. So I think that
Mhm.
was really well done.
It did a thing that I think Marvel really fails at doing, and where they bring up a really interesting topic, they didn't try to immediately water it down by making it, like actually Cord's they kind of do it, but it's like
Right.
actually Cord's the good people. It's not that bad because this reminds me a lot of when Sam becomes Captain America and that whole thing with Falcon Winter Soldier, where they have like a
Yeah.
really interesting thing about the status quo and we're kind of the militarized group that's kind of making this worse for everybody else, and it's like this movie could have easily just pivoted that and then made Blue Beetle like side with the gentrifiers.
Right.
But they still chose to never really waver from that section at any point, and they had a little bit easier thing to do there because it's easy
Mhm.
to be like, oh well, we got the daughter and she's the good one. She wants to save the world and not ruin it.
Right.
So easy cop out. But even still, like there was a lot of times they definitely could have like pivoted and watered that down, but they never really
Mm.
did. And I
No,
fucked
I
with
think
that.
yeah, I think they had a good balance of it in the
Yeah.
movie. Yeah. But yeah, going back to the most traumatic thing in my life.
The dad dies.
God damn, dude. I was so like, as obviously the house is already starting to burn. I was like, oh no, they're losing the house. And then the family kind of gets separated, and then dad is running with a daughter and clutches his chest. I was like, no, I couldn't believe it.
Bad things come in threes, man. And that's kind of one of the things that like I don't know if they did this on purpose, but it's a really interesting like I guess discussion on trauma. Is a lot of times when things happen, you don't even have time to process or have time
Right.
to feel your feelings. Like this was all happening while he was being taken away, his house was being raided, his family was being split up, and his house was on fucking fire. So he
It
couldn't
was
even be like, they could have easily done a situation where they have him run over to him and clutch him and he has like the last words or something like that,
right.
which would have been really cliche, but it wouldn't have hit nearly as well which is really
No.
funny because it's like a lot of people probably like writing probably would have thought to do exactly that, but instead he's getting dragged away as his dad is on the ground dying.
It's
Um,
awful to watch.
yeah, and he has no way to, I don't know, do anything about it.
No, this is where I was like, I did not expect the movie to go this hard like that. I was like, God,
His
let
Uncle
me
Ben,
breathe.
baby.
Holy shit! I did not know this was all gonna. Because like again, like I didn't know as much about Blue Beetle's origin, really at all, or much about the character other than like very few things. So, which I'm kind of glad. I'm glad I didn't. It hit me like a fucking ton of bricks. And then because like they pull a little like switcheroo in the set, they'll almost try to trick you when like after said and done, the family surrounding him, the ambulance shows up, you see him in the back of the car, it's like, oh, maybe he's not dead. And then it cuts to the George Lopez, the daughter and grandma, and he dies. I'm like, what? I thought, what just happened? Why are you gonna do this to me twice, like within 2 seconds?
Oh man, that
It
was
was
that was tough.
it was a lot because it doesn't even like cut to the dad. It just the camera just stays on the three of them and just watches the reaction
Watching
to
them
it.
get the
And it's
bad
like,
news, yeah.
fuck, dude.
That was good. That was a heart puller. That was a heartstring puller for sure.
That fucking killed me, dude. I'm trying not to get emotional about it now, but it was just like it was rough. It was rough. It was tough to see, and it was again really well done. It was a lot of components for me personally. Obviously, I was with my dad. It's very Superman origin with Pa Kent dying of a heart attack, and the hero literally have nothing. Can't do. There's nothing you can do. That's it. It's done. There's nothing you can
Yeah.
do about it. It could go two ways for people. Where some people might think, oh, we're doing the. Apparently, you can't be a superhero without a parent dying.
Without trauma.
Right. Again, paint by numbers, but again, it's just somehow done. It's done well, you know?
Right. Yeah, and there's so much loaded into it. You know how hard he worked. You know how much he did for the family. Everything.
Yeah.
He was the glue in a lot of ways, while also being kind of the more silent one of the family. Like he had stuff to say, but he definitely didn't have nearly as much to say as a lot of other people. And that's why like the only time he talks to him is like when they get the one-on-one at night and stuff like that. And so
Yeah.
much of that is like the family structure of a Latino family.
Mhm.
Of like, yeah, you work really hard. Yeah, put your head down. You're kind of quiet, and
Yeah.
and that's about the end of it. And he lost his life over it, and he was still trying to work and still do more.
Yeah.
So then to see all that culminate into that moment, and then you can't even grieve him properly because you're going through so much shit. That fucking
Yeah.
sucks.
Which that was I kind of loved how Nana pulls them together in this moment, and she's like, "This is not the time for self pity. The tears will come later. We got shit to get done now." I was
that
like,
was
"Okay, okay."
she was on that shit. I was like, oh, all right.
I forgot Nana was a revolutionary.
Oh, they don't let you forget. They put on that platform real fucking hard towards
Uh,
the end.
yeah, so really well done scene with all of that. We'll get to the back to the dad in just a second and all that. What did you think of Jenny Cord,
Jenny Cord, she
the
felt
daughter?
very Fast and Furious.
A little bit.
Yeah,
And like go ahead, continue, sorry.
I mean that's really just about it. It was very convenient for her to exist in the movie. I understand why she needed to, for the love interest one, and then also to have the end to be able to do any of the things that they needed to do in this movie. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. That was probably one of the lazier things in the movie to me. Is of course she
Yeah.
had to be the pretty girl. She had to also be Brazilian, to kind of, even though all those people are white as hell. So you can still have like the family connection and stuff like that.
For me, it was I think her accent gets in the way of her acting.
Interesting.
Speaking of Fast and Furious, it's a similar thing with Gal Gadot, where she's not the best actor in the world. I think her accent gets in the way
I
sometimes.
think it makes it even worse.
Like honestly, and I think Jenny was better in times, but there are times where I'm like, your accent's getting in the way of your acting in this moment, I feel.
Interesting.
And that happens, and you can kind of tell that. But other than that, like she's fine. She doesn't have super much to do. I think some of the emotional stuff, I think she does well. She has that whole scene about Ted Ford, her dad, where when they first go to the old house that she lived in. That was fine. But yeah, like you said, kind of she did her job. She was
Yeah.
okay. She was fine.
It felt
You
pretty
know?
generic as a whole. She
Yeah.
definitely wasn't the reason that I was in the theater by any means.
No.
Her first
No.
outfit was wild. She was definitely wearing something like right off the rack. She was wearing like the suspenders and the business and then the high heels, and I was like, girl, what you? What you wearing right now? What's this fit? Looking like a
Right?
old timey gangster, but then in high heels. I'm very confused. Yeah, where's your little bowler hat? The fuck?
Right?
Yeah. Other than that, yeah, he's fine.
That's funny. Yeah. Do you want to talk about villains real quick?
Yeah. Victoria Cord.
Fucking Susan Sarandon's in this movie.
She does a great mean white lady. She's real good at that. Yeah. Once again, she's a pretty standard generic. I want to do way too much in the regime. I do kind of like that they did try to tie it back to feminism. I don't like so
Yeah.
much that they didn't really try to solve that in a way amicably, other than just murdering the fuck out of her.
Just
Because she had right stuff to say, but it did
Right.
that's the Marvel thing that they did, that they kind of did with the
a
Falcon
little
Winter
bit,
Soldier,
honestly, yeah.
where they take something where it's like she has a point in what she means, but then she goes way too crazy about it.
But we need to make her murder some people so that we
Yeah.
can,
The crazy woman trope has to leave. We got to get out of that. They tried to use another woman to kind of balance it out, but I
Right.
still didn't love it. And then G.I. Joe over there was fucking.
No, it's G.I. Jose.
He looked cool. He looked badass in his fucking Mega Machine Transformer.
Yeah.
I couldn't care less about him one way or another. The best part they did was when they showed his backstory. I think that was really cool, and I think they handled that really well. Before then, could not give a fuck less about this man with his stupid eye and his stupid arm. Like,
The first thing I wrote down was like, this is the poor man's Danny Trejo. He even got the scars on his face to look. No, but real quick about Susan Sarandon, Victoria Cord. She's fine. She doesn't have much to do. She's okay. She's just kind of,
she
again,
shows up
like
to
you
be
said,
mean in monologue.
mean business lady, you know? Yeah. So it's fine. I just found it funny how no one looked at her like, why is this woman walking around with this sketchy ass dude? Like, and that she's not a villain.
He's got
Like,
a
how do people
robot
know?
arm. Like, how the
What
fuck
the
are you
fuck is
not
going
scared?
on?
He doesn't even wear a glove on it. Like, at least wear a glove so I wouldn't notice.
What is this world?
At least pull an Anakin. Man's got the fucking thing just hanging out. And they're like, oh, he's a great
Right.
soldier. Thank you, soldier, for your. No, this man is scary.
Yeah. I do think like they threw in some things about like other themes of like how there's this random white woman who's just going around the country finding brown people to quote unquote fix. I'm like, oof, okay, all right.
Yeah, I think that was an interesting storyline they did there.
Her whole thing, how she calls her assistant Sanchez, even though that's not his name.
I love how they just like he didn't. Is the director Latino or no? Do we know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So that makes this make a lot more sense. Thank God, because I was gonna be really scared if it was white dude. But it's like, yeah, because like these are like when they were being like basically cleaning people on her giant estate, and it was like stuff like that. Where it's just like, yeah, they're showing like real like racist tropes that kind of go on it. Where it's just like, oh well, you're invisible to her. She has so much money. We're just here to do our job and then fucking leave. That's
Right.
real life experience. Like, yeah, you probably at some point in your life been called the wrong name because of your ethnicity.
Oh, I've
like,
been called, many a time, Brian, many a time.
and it's fucking it's an atrocity that exists in the real world. And yeah, they hit it.
I don't
well.
know how many times I've been called Mario for some reason in
Mario!
my life, and like I'm like, that's not what.
That is purely on purpose racism. That is not
Yeah,
a
I'm like,
forgetfulness.
All right,
Because
yeah,
I've only met one Mario that Latino before in my life. Like,
I've met two, and one of them was in a video game.
and that man's Italian.
And he's Italian. But yeah, no, so like they threw a lot of that stuff in. I will say real quick, that is one element that I was like, this didn't quite work, was let's call him not Sanchez. Not Sanchez, his death, that whole bit was pretty rushed, but like it was funny, but also brutal. When he actually dies and they splatter his blood on the fucking window, I was like, oh my God, what the fuck?
I knew they needed to make one more like heartfelt hard thing before they tightened it up. But they did give him his little flowers and be like, my name is
And he's got 18
he's
names.
got 18 last names. Like, yeah, okay, we got that going on. I got you.
Yes,
And then of course he
absolutely.
did the savior thing. But then like I don't know what would have been better, if it would have been better for him to live through it or to die.
I think if they had just done more with him throughout the movie, like shown more, because I feel like there's only like one scene before that where he goes, my name's not Sanchez. Like,
yeah, he says that maybe once or twice. He has the burger
Yeah.
scene. That's really it. So you don't really
Yeah.
have time with them. Like maybe if they, like you said, like maybe if they like showed him do more things and like care more about his culture or something
Looked
like
a
that.
little
Like,
more conflicted because, like,
yeah,
from the start of the movie, he was very much let's experiment with this beetle, you know.
yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, I do think there are some parts like that. They probably had some cut scenes with him in it for sure.
Maybe, yeah. But now talking about Ignacio, the other villain of the story, some people might think it's rushed. I thought it kind of worked. His whole backstory, flashbacks of how, ironically, his mother was killed in a Cord Industries bombing, and then she found him and turned him into a child soldier for her. So it's like he's working for the person that killed his own mother. So I thought all of that flashback was kind of interesting and cool. And obviously he takes his own life and takes her, drags her ass with him.
And I thought Jaime was gonna stop him, and he was
He
just
did
like,
not.
"Yeah, we should head out."
Jaime said, "I'm not a killer. I don't know about that guy."
I knew that guy was a killer from the moment I saw his face. I was like, "Yeah, that man kills people."
Right. Well, speaking of which, talking about their first fight, he's gonna curb stomp him in the street. I was like, "Oh my god!"
That man took it real old school with that one. He went for
That
American
was-
History X for a second, bite
Right?
the curb.
That's the first thing I thought. It's like
Bite
you
the
gonna make him bite the curb.
So I had never seen him curb stomp somebody in real life, but that man really was about to go for it.
My goodness.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
was
he
rough.
did a good thing about being brutal. I knew there was gonna be a point they were gonna have to stop showing his face for the fight scene, so
Right.
they chose the Megazord, which I think they both looked good. Like the first, like they literally gave that man a level up. That man got a fucking second level boss battle where he turned
Yeah.
into something even bigger and stronger. Unfortunately,
Right.
he looked like a fucking armored core character.
He had the helmet of the Doom guy.
Yeah, he had a very interesting how it came to that, but I thought it looked cool. But I just don't know if that was a little too generic of a go-to. Like I hate when they go and for like the ultimate life form kind of situation, and then they go like mechanical with it. I
Right.
don't know what I would have preferred. I haven't thought about
Yeah.
it too much, but it's like when you say the ultimate life form is not a fucking android.
Right.
with wings on it. Like that is not what I wanted to be when you said you were gonna fix me. I thought you were gonna maybe make my arm come back or something like that, maybe bigger and stronger.
Right. I was like, why would you want to be this guy?
Right,
Like,
I don't-
what?
I don't know what Blue
You can't
Beetle's-
do anything else in life now.
Right. I don't know what Blue Beetle's like villains look like, but maybe he could have been
Yeah, I
something
don't
more
know.
like hulking or something like that. Maybe his arms could have transformed into something and that been the only thing they transformed. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what I really wanted there, but I don't know that I love the Megazord.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It was definitely, again, it's back to every superhero trope where it's a different color version of the hero.
Right. And that's
You
what I thought it was gonna be like a black beetle or something like that. I was like, oh, that'll be cool. And then the
Right.
fucking machinery started getting put on. I was like, oh, we're not getting that. Okay.
know?
We're getting something worse. Okay.
Yeah, so overall, villains did their job fine. It's all right,
Fine to not see them again, which we won't because they're both
which
dead.
we will not. Yeah, real quick, I have to talk about the return of the trauma in terms of him seeing his dad in the afterlife, quote unquote.
Mm.
I was like, I can't. Like, as soon as it flashed, I was like, don't you dare see your father in this shit. And he walks around the corner. I was like, God damn it! Are you kidding me?
With the candles,
More of this?
that was a decent looking scene with the candles and stuff. I was scared when I saw
It
that
was.
all the CGI-ish looking stuff. I was like,
Right.
this is where it's gonna get stupid and ugly. But then that little candle scene, I was like, oh, that looks very nice. Look at that.
It looked good. This is where my one criticism of Jaime, the actor Jolo who plays him, in terms of, I'm sitting in the theater, I'm like, why am I crying more than you, bro? Like, you can't give me one tear. You're seeing your father for probably the last time ever.
Right.
Can you give me one tear? I'm like, you're young, you'll figure it
That
out.
man should have been broken up. Yeah.
That was the one time where I was like, he could have done a little better in that moment.
I feel you 100% because it was heartfelt. It was a really heartfelt moment. His dad's
It was.
monologue is really good, talking to him about
Mhm.
it. Yeah, all of that I think worked for me really well. It gave me kind of like an Avatar vibes when when he would talk to like the older avatars and like the dream state
Yeah.
or whatever. So I think they kind of handled that well. Also, it looked way better than the Flash did in a similar moment. So I thought that was really fucking cool. Which is crazy because they had half the budget.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I don't know what they did differently, but damn. Let's quickly wrap up with the family stuff.
We got to talk about Nana.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, how did you feel? Because I was like, I don't know how Brian's gonna feel about this. How'd you feel about the family suiting up for battle?
I mean, it was fine. I think they needed to have stuff to do, and I think it was going to be bad if they didn't.
Right.
Just because they were too much of an impact to begin with. Rudy was the one that made the most sense. I knew
The tech genius.
Yeah, the sister, her whole stuff was. I didn't really care for it that much.
Was that a Nintendo Power Glove?
Yes,
That-
it was a developer.
I kind of love that.
They were definitely sticking with the fact that a lot of this stuff came from the 70s and 80s that Ted was working
Yeah.
with, which I assume probably the last run of the comic, to be honest, at least most recent.
Right.
Uh, yeah, so she did fine. The Power Glove was a little goofy, whereas the shield and the punch thing, they definitely had a more Miss Marvel reference, it felt like.
Yeah.
But then there was Grandma. Grandma takes out the Gatling gun.
Abuela with the minigun, bro. What the fuck?
That was pretty
Holy
wild.
shit.
I thought that was gonna be a little too corny and on the nose, but I don't know. It still was heartfelt enough that I loved it because her being a revolutionary, I think, was the big part that I was like, okay, this is something that could have actually happened in her
Right.
lifetime.
I love how she's like planning, like, all right, this is how we're gonna get in. This is how we do this. I know my shit, people. Let's go.
That was good humor. That one hit right for me. I don't know if it hit right for everyone, but it worked for me.
I could see it being borderline for some people, a
Mhm.
little too much, but it worked.
I knew there was gonna have to be a scene where she screams and laughs with the Gatling gun. Saw that coming from a mile away. It
Right.
happens. It was fine. I don't know that I love her being a murderer and laughing about it. Like her lines were good, but laughing at the lines was uncomfy. I felt
Right.
uncomfortable when she did that.
Right. No, it's fair. I would say the one bit that I was like, this is personally, this was a little too kid jokey for me. I like the bug ship, but the fart,
The
I was
fart
like,
was could have totally left
too
that up.
much.
Yeah.
Too much.
I mean, now knowing that Barbie made a ton of money and knowing that Greta Gerwig did want to put a whole fart opera at one point of the thing,
Oh my god, really?
I'm glad. Yes, apparently that's
Oh,
not the first
fuck.
time she wanted to do that either. I'm
Oof.
glad we have editors.
Yes.
I wish we had
yes.
one that had told them no for this because that very much felt like a Nickelodeon George
It did.
Lopez ass thing to
Mhm.
do to have happen. I was like, oh, okay, and it had to make the fart sounds too. You don't have to make the fart sounds. You could have
I
made
was-
maybe
yeah.
one fart joke, but no fart noises. Like-
Exactly. Exactly. But other than that, I thought that mech worked. I thought the Motley Crue song worked in that scene somehow. I was like, okay, I'm into this. Let's go.
Yeah, I definitely was vibing to it.
I liked Jaime's little mini arc of how he's not a killer. Him and the Scarab, they're not killers, and that's why he doesn't kill the villain at the end. And he's going to, and then
Ooh.
Kaji, the Scarab's like, we're not killers. So I kind of like that arc.
Remember how they did that in Spider-Man, the most recent one? Exactly that, but instead of a AI generated voice, it was Tobey Maguire.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just it's Spider-Man. It's fucking Spider-Man. It's
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
yeah.
No, but I still, once again, it still worked for me because like it's another one of those things where it's like I get the emotion, I get where it's coming from.
Mhm.
Like in those situations, like I'd probably feel exactly the same way. I still feel that Tom Holland should have killed fucking Green Lantern.
Green Goblin.
Green Goblin. Yeah, it's like Green Lantern. I don't agree with the fact that Tobey Maguire stopped him. Kill that motherfucker. He's a menace. He's been a menace in literally multiple universes. Kill that motherfucker.
That's true. He's not a good guy. He's got to go.
But in this one, like, yeah, they did show like that's where the flashback happened, and I think that was a decent flashback. I think it worked well for me. That it was like,
Yeah.
he is just a product of his environment, and we're all kind of products of our environment when it comes down to it. Unfortunately, Victoria Core didn't get the same treatment
Nope.
because she
Nope,
was
nope.
white.
Yep.
I'm just now noticing that just now. That's the white woman. She doesn't get her fucking because she went through the
Nope.
next thing. She's a product of her environment. But yeah, I don't know. That just still worked for me. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I get not killing him. I'm glad they didn't do a thing where you try to go for like one more fucking slash or something, and then they have to kill him. They
Yeah.
could have easily have done that, but they didn't.
Me too.
Yeah.
I will say, because we haven't really talked about the Scarab itself that much, which is sentient. It has a voice. It does, talk. I thought it was fine. Maybe could have used a more Scarab. Maybe they'll do it in the future. I did, I did love it at the time, and I still do, but jokingly, how Kaji starts to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Towards the end of it. I was like, I kind of love it because they're obviously getting more and more symbiotic together. But then I was like, is that appropriation, Kaji? What are you doing?
Because that sounds like a white lady. That's a white lady voice.
I looked it up. Apparently, it's not.
Oh, yeah?
Apparently, it's Becky G, the musical artist. She was the Yellow Ranger in the Power Rangers reboot.
Oh shit! Nice.
Yeah,
super
apparently
cool.
she is Kaji. So
Interesting.
yeah, I was like, okay.
She was a
Not-
Yellow Ranger. That's not fair. She can't be the Yellow Ranger.
Well, they made the Asian guy the Black Ranger,
Fair,
and then the black guy
fair.
the Blue Ranger.
Yeah. They fucked everything up. Everything was all messed up. that I remember that now. Yeah. Oh no, okay, that's
But
interesting.
yeah, no, I did love how she starts speaking Spanish to him as they got together.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think she needed more scenes to say more stuff because she was being too much AI and not enough like I'm part of you as a person, and like we're kind of having like our little tussle. because
Right.
I feel like a lot of times, even during the tussle, she was barely even talking. So that was kind of pissing me off.
Yeah.
I was a little afraid at one point she was gonna turn into his dad's voice and just stay that
Oh
way.
God, no.
And I was
Oh
really afraid
no.
of that. When she started speaking Spanish, especially, I was like,
Oh
let's not get too far
no.
down this rabbit hole. Let's stop this. Pump the brakes. Too much dip on your
Yeah.
chip,
No,
baby.
no, 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 no.
But yeah, they still kept that away from that. But yeah, I did want to see like more of the exploration into a lot of the parts about Blue Beetle, and one of the parts being about the fact that like they're now getting more and more connected. What are the pros? What are the cons? How does this affect him?
It was funny. Like, yeah, speaking of that, my dad asked me after we walked out, I was like, so is he gonna die? Like, does he live forever now? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I think he'll age normally, and
Yeah, just die
because like, the
naturally.
whole thing is like Kaji will keep him alive forever or whatever. Like, won't let him die. But I'm like, does that include like natural causes?
I mean, now we know he has regenerative abilities. We're learning
That's
some
what
more
I'm
about it, stuff
saying.
like
Like,
that. So it's like I don't know how far that goes. How much does
will
healing?
he only die if someone murders him?
Right. I mean, I guess
don't know.
at some point, cell death, you can't keep stopping that, regenerating that. Maybe it'll start where they die faster than she can repair, something like that. So maybe he just dies
Maybe.
of old age, but maybe he'll live like 125 as opposed to just 100.
Right.
Like,
Right. I was like, that's a good question,
that's
Dad.
kind of
I don't know.
interesting. Yeah. What was I thinking about? Oh, Mass Effect Andromeda plays around with this exact same thing, which I wonder if they. I don't know the comics
Hmm.
of Blue Beetle. So I don't know if this is actually like something that's been interpreted now that exists, or if this is something that always existed in the comics with her like becoming one with him.
Right.
But they do it in Mass Effect Andromeda where you have to have an implant in your head that makes you just like a better fighter, and it's basically just this. Honestly, now I'm thinking about it, it's basically just Blue Beetle. It just like
Oh wow.
makes you're faster, stronger, regenerate, all that kind of stuff. And also your dad's voice can be in there sometimes, which is kind of gross. But I do have an interesting thing of like seeing into the mind. I think they play with that in a really good way in Mass Effect that I don't think they did here. That I just kind of miss. There's a lot of places that I think they could make better in a second movie. I think this is a good introduction. I don't think Blue Beetle had enough to do as Blue Beetle. And I don't think Kaji had enough to do as the AI.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm glad they didn't just go straight Iron Man with it though, because obviously I think people would have been like, you're just stealing from Iron Man.
Right.
But I think there needed to be maybe a little more in it.
Yeah.
You know?
Like they immediately nerfed him, which I always hate in a movie where you have to make them weak in order to make the plot line move forward. Like I wanted him to have more time just being really fucking strong and, not having to worry about, dying.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Couple last bit things for me. Easter eggy stuff. Obviously, there's Big Belly Burger, which is a DC fast food joint that's around. There's a Superman name drop. There, Metropolis and the Flash and shit in there. There's a fucking Scorpion reference. He says, "Get over here" at one point.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
And then obviously he basically makes a Buster Sword.
Yeah,
which,
that's very Final Fantasy VII. And then I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember. I was trying my hardest. It was like I feel like the whole little thing he does with the flip of the sword is like from Final Fantasy X, but I could be wrong. Like I thought that.
Oh, really?
I thought that was Titus's like celebration pose after you win a battle, but I could be wrong.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, that's definitely a Buster Sword.
Yeah.
100%.
Look dope. Look
Yeah,
great.
let's see where I can go. I appreciate
I
it.
kind of wish they did more with that, you
Yeah.
know, like because when she's like, you can make whatever you want. That he only does that one thing, really, because it's at the end of the movie. But I would love to see what more stuff
I
he'll
wanna say,
think of and
It's
imagine.
very Green Lantern-ish, so I wanted to say.
Yeah.
But I feel like Green Lantern always just makes dumb shit. Where it's like, dude, you could make literally anything, and you pick to make a giant fist. You dumb idiot.
He's so boring.
Like, what are you thinking?
He's
Dude?
no imagination.
A water bucket? Come on, man, grow up.
And then obviously mid credits, Ted Cord, Blue Beetle is alive somehow. Will that get a sequel? Who the fuck?
We're gonna get a Michael
knows?
Keaton Batman situation. I don't give a fuck.
And then the post credit is so I doubt you understood what this cartoon was, Brian, that's shown in the movie, and also they bring it back at the end. I did, and me and my dad were laughing because that is part of a series of different characters that this actor would play for years. And me and my family didn't watch this specific show, but he's in another show called where he's a character called Chespirito, and it's just like shenanigans. It's a sitcom. It's a Spanish sitcom. And this was one of his other characters that he'd play, which was like he's a superhero, but he's just bad at his job. And he's called El Chapulin. And so I thought that was just so funny how that's in there. Again, a thing that like is such a cultural reference that not everyone's gonna understand type of thing. But it's just like it's the post credits of this movie.
And all those people that sat in that theater, they sat down and they watched all of it.
Yeah, it's very funny. And then one last thing that I saw a Easter egg. I'm pretty sure the first time they showed that cartoon, and there's that one security guard who's like, "Oh, look, la la la," he's like laughing about it. That is, I believe if I'd have to go double check. It's Felipe Esparza, pretty
Nice.
famous comedian. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's funny. I wonder if George Lopez roped him in. I was like, you want to be in fucking Blue Beetle for 4 seconds?
No,
Let's go.
I love that. They definitely like. It's weird. They put an interesting amount of care into this movie. To be a movie that they didn't seem to care about.
Right? Or yeah, at least the
Yeah,
higher ups were like,
right.
whatever.
Well,
Who
the
cares?
white people didn't care about it, I guess.
Right. I guess like quickly talking about if we think what the future of this character could be. Obviously, with James Gunn saying how now Blue Beetle is the new start potentially, even though Superman's a start. Will we or won't we see Jaime? I'm hoping James Gunn will, obviously, because if you see a James Gunn movie, you know he's very much about a kind of shenanigan-filled family that's weird and goofy, and that's what this movie is. And also body horror stuff. There's some body horror stuff in this movie that was like, I bet you James Gunn loves it. Because it's
Yeah,
gross.
it can be a gross movie sometimes. I hate the transformation. Transformation where the fucking when his hair kind of like comes out and falls off and stuff like that. Shit was
It's
yeah, that shit was
gross.
weird. They really put a lot of interesting because I thought it was gonna be a quick change. You know what I mean? Nope.
Yeah. Also, he's got to figure out how to not be naked every time.
I was wondering if they're gonna ever solve that problem. I just never did. I thought Jenny was gonna be like, "Oh, my dad has this thing. If you want that, it's technology that helps that not happen." Nope, dude, just naked.
Right. You got to figure that out, man. You can't. That's a bad look.
At the end of the movie, he flies homegirl to her house. Is he just naked at the end of this?
Oh, you're right. Well, let's face it. That's probably what he was hoping for, anyways.
Oops, I forgot. Like, pack a backpack or something, brother. What are you doing?
Right. Oh, but yeah, man. I would love to see this character continue. Will he get a sequel? Who knows? But listeners, go see this
Please, so
fucking
it will
movie.
get a sequel
Please.
because if it doesn't make any money, it's not. I don't think.
It's got to make more money than Shazam 2 and Black Adam. Please. Please.
That's all I want in my life. I want to make it. Could be meager. It could be a nice maybe 500 million. But please let it get 500 million, bro.
Something.
It
Something,
can't make another
please.
250. We can't do any of that anymore. I mean, even that I guess would not be the worst for this movie because I think if the budget was 100.
No, that
the
would be
budget
good.
was 120. I don't know that they spent that much on the marketing. Let's be real.
Right. Right. Oh boy. We'll see though. But yeah, I'm glad you liked it. We'll see, listeners, if Devin checks it out. Me and you were talking about. We're very curious to see what he
I would
feels
like to
about
see
it.
someone that doesn't have the same strength towards the culture, how they might feel about it. Because while
Right.
just a lot
Same.
of people of color do share a lot of similarities in kind of a life history, I feel like.
Mhm.
So I think that's why some of those things hit with me. I don't
Yeah.
know that it will hit with people that maybe haven't gone through those kinds of experiences. I'm not sure.
Right.
So
I don't know. It's very curious though. We'll see. But who knows? Blue Beetle came. It went. Hopefully he'll stick around. All right. Listeners, that is our main tech up of the week. Brian, shall we now head into our final segment?
let's do it.
All right. It is time for our final segment of the week, guys, which means we get to welcome back Devin, the man who hates
woo.
all brown people. He is here to discuss and talk about our final segment of the week, which we like to call Free for All. Title pending. This is a segment, listeners. We can kind of do whatever we want. We can talk about our day, talk about life, rant, sleep, nap. It is free for all. I can very quickly go first. I have finally started my Attack on Titan rewatch.
Oh no.
I've told Brian this. I don't know, Devin. I don't know if you know this. I am watching one episode of Attack on Titan a day, until that final, if it is actually final, little special comes out. Only because I am now watching the subtitled version. Because as listeners would know, I watched the dubbed version of the entire series, and now that I've known that, basically, the finale is gonna be only in subtitled versions when it comes out. So I'm gonna have to. So I was like, I want to rewatch it so I can kind of get used to the voice actors as I do it. So it's kind of an excuse for that as well. It's going good. It's fun. I think I'm like 7 episodes in.
Nice.
It's kind of nice that I'm like, all right, 20 minutes a day. I'll watch one episode and I'm out. There are definitely some episodes where I'm like, oh fuck, I want to watch the next one. Damn it.
Yeah.
But no, it's a lot of fun, and it's also really cool because as you guys know, I also like listen to like all of the soundtracks. So hearing the music that I'm so much more familiar with as I watch the series is a really fun thing to do, and it's really cool to experience. And also, it's like no spoilers, but like the twists and turns that happen, it's really interesting to watch a lot
Oh
of these
yeah,
characters interact.
because it
I'm like,
becomes
oh,
so much more obvious some of the tones where it's like
yes.
we
Mhm.
should have known that.
I'm like, oh, I wonder why you hanging out right
You're
here,
right.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a really good job of that.
It's really fun. It's really been a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to continuing to do that. That, and then one last thing, I finally finished, well, I platinumed Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh
Finally
shit.
did that.
Nice. Whoa.
I beat the Yuffie DLC storyline. It was fun. Yuffie is dope
Yeah.
combat wise. The combat in that game is already cool as shit. She's dope as fuck. It ends very abruptly is one thing. And the ending very much caught me off guard. I was like, oh shit, this really is an intermission. This shit was like 10 minutes long.
Oh shit.
No, it's not. It's probably like 8 hours depending on
Okay.
your 6 to 9 hours depending on how fast you go through it.
But it cost $30 at first, I believe, for people that didn't get it with the PlayStation 5 version. It was pretty expensive, I think, for if you get it on PS4. Because I think you can still get it on PS4, but it's a DLC.
Oh,
I thought
I don't
so.
know.
And then they
I don't. I
packaged
think
it
it's only
together with it.
PC and
Oh, maybe.
PS5. I think still.
Okay.
I think I got it on sale for like $10.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said you got it on sale. Okay, whatever. It's
I
fine.
think it was originally 15, and I think I bought it on sale for $10. I think.
because you had the PS4 and then you got the upgrade.
Yeah.
Okay, because PC, it's all bundled together. So $70 will get you the entire game with the that
Right,
on it.
right, yeah.
Okay, I
So
get it now.
I never got the PS5 version because they gave out that PS4 one for free. So
I got you. Okay,
because originally I think when they sent that out, you couldn't get that PS5 upgrade for free. You had to pay for it.
maybe that's
And
what I'm
then like
thinking
a
of.
year later, they made it so you were eligible to do it. So it's like
Okay.
sweet. I
So-
had to pay $10 to play this whole game. That's amazing. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I am chomping at the bit for the next one, but it's nice to take a break. I spent a lot of hours in that game.
Now it's time to play the original game, baby.
Oh, honestly, that was my thinking. It was like getting it and just playing what I played. I'm not gonna beat the whole thing like Alex did, but just playing that first section that covers and remake just to see the difference.
That'll take you 3 hours.
I was about to say I could do it probably in a day.
You can do it in a day. Yeah, it's that much. They stretched out 3 hours into 50 hours. It was crazy.
Right. But honestly, because I was looking at it, maybe getting it for like iOS. I don't really want to pay $20 for a phone game, even if it is great. So I don't know. We'll see.
I mean,
But,
you do own a computer, and you can.
Also, Yoy, matey.
It's also like $7 on Steam. It's really usually pretty cheap on PC, if even that much.
Right.
I definitely bought it for less than $10.
Yeah. So we'll see. But man, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. It's really
I'll
cool.
play
And
it
that game
someday.
looks so good.
I don't know.
So good.
Well, y'all are gonna have to give me a point where you actually want to talk about it, and then I'll have to
And then
play
we'll-
it.
yeah.
Because with the Baldur's Gate coming out and Starfield coming out, I don't know when I'm gonna play Final Fantasy VII now. That's
Dang,
fucking.
man.
That's just
Yeah.
on the
Fair
back
enough.
burner for sure.
Fair enough.
Very true.
Yeah. As usual, shout out to God of War Ragnarok.
You got anything, Devin?
Yeah, I got a quick thing. If you care to hear it, I forgot. I told you guys I started the 3-Body Problem, the book. Very, very good
Yeah.
book. I'm almost done with it. Very excited to see how Netflix does. Probably badly because there's a lot of CGI that would be tough to do, even for a good company.
Even
But,
for HBO.
But before that, I forgot to tell you that I read and finished Dune Messiah, which I don't know what made me kind of get into that, but I don't know how much you guys want me to spoil what happens there, but
I mean, I don't know if that's anything that ever be turned into a movie or anything. I don't think they're gonna go that far into Dune. You think so?
and I don't think they should because it was awful.
I would say no spoilers, especially because the second Dune is about to come
Yeah.
out.
Okay. Well, no spoilers. Dune. I can see why everybody really talks about Dune, the first one, and nobody really talks about that. And I looked at the lore after. I was like, okay, what happens in like 2 was bad. What happens in 3 through 5 or 6, whatever? I am so glad I did not invest time in the rest of the lore because it gets really weird and really dumb. So the first one is basically just like pretend that that's the story and just leave it there, because the second one, it was very short, but like nothing happens. And then the way it's written, the dialogue is like everything's like a philosophical conversation. It's impossible for anybody to just get like a pragmatic, like, hey, can you hand me a slice of bread? Nobody would say that.
There's a term for that I can't remember what they call it, but that was an issue in The Walking Dead, that it never feels like they're speaking to each other. It always feels like they're speaking to the audience. So everything always
Yeah,
has to be like
it's kinda like
weird
that.
and enigmatic almost in the way that everyone
Mhm.
speaks. And that's bad. That's bad writing. Anyone that's listening to this, don't write like that. That's shit.
That sounds like a writer who's like kind of just like trying to show how smart they are.
That's the vibe I got from reading some like analysis of Doom Messiah. It's very divisive. You either love it or you hate it. But like
Right.
a lot of people are critical of it because they said that Herbert kind of like overdid it, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I would not want to read 4 or 5 more books in that style. The first one I
Interesting.
thought was good, but yeah, like man,
Do you know how many years were between that first book and then the second one?
I don't. It's a good question.
Yeah, I would be interested to find out.
Yeah, and I think at a certain point he started. At a certain point, he was just writing them kind of like to, like he didn't really want to write more than like a certain number, but then he just kept. It was making so much money that he's like, well, I'll keep going, right? And then he does this weird thing in the very last book where he kind of breaks the fourth wall a little bit, kind of referring to himself in like one little chapter. But I
It
don't
sounded
know.
like some Matrix going off the rails shit.
but that's the way it is from Dune Messiah. Because like, and I feel like once we finish Dune and like, you know, if we want to talk about it, then I would like to talk about this with you all. But like, it doesn't feel fair. Like the idea that he sets up in Dune Messiah doesn't really feel fair because he introduces it in the first Dune. And I'm sure we'll see that in this part 2 of the movie. But it doesn't feel fair because the second book jumps 12 years in the future from when Dune ends. So you don't really see a more gradual transition. And it's not really fair to just be like, oh, this is where this character is now, and no explanation of like a turn. So I don't know. I blew through it. Like I couldn't put it down. But then when I finished it, I was like, this was some bullshit. Like the entire plot happens in like the last 10 pages. It's insane.
Oh no. What the fuck?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, apparently there was 4 years between this and the second book. So maybe something really turned in his mind. I know the whole, you know, the whole thing about Dune and about how his like him meeting you know, people of color basically for the first time overseas was kind of what made him write the book in the first place. Maybe he started getting a little too, I don't know, philosophical after that, and it became a little too in the weeds because everyone that told him he was a smart white man, so maybe that made him want to be even a smarter white man.
And I do like what he did. I do like it because it kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth. It's not like it's not a typical hero story, you know. But the way he did it, I feel like could have been executed better. So I don't know, but you know, but I'm just glad. I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I looked into what happens next, and I don't need to waste my time with that. And I'm glad that the second movie looks like it's gonna be really good, and I can kind of pretend the story ends there.
I think a lot of people did. So.
Yeah.
I'll go last. I have a little bit of a kind of my own news story, and then also a tiny bit of a rant. I'll try to be quick about it, for sake of time. But I want to talk about esports organizations and kind of the space that they're in right now, because an interesting thing happened recently that has caused quite a ruckus in the Halo community as well as the Rocket League and other communities as well, which Devin might be familiar with. In that it's no secret to anybody at this point that esports organizations are bleeding. We are in a really bad space when it comes to that whole thing. They tried too hard to be like normal sports, and that has been an absolute failure. They're paying people too much. They're wasting too many resources, and because of that, a lot of them are going out of business and going under right now. And one of them that I'm actually familiar with is called Gamers First, and I'm familiar with them only because a guy that I know pretty well in the Halo community was actually started. He was a founder with some guy from the NFL. I can't remember who he played for. His first name is Kenny. I don't know his last name. So they started an organization together called Gamers First. And most recently, they've been known for not paying their employees, their tournament winners, or their contractors. And it's been almost a year for some of these people since they've been paid. And some have been 3 to 4 months. Some people have won tournaments last year that they still not gotten paid out from because they have no fucking money. And this is no new news to a lot of other organizations, because some other organizations have been going through some similar situations where they're definitely like, oh, we can maintain maybe like 2 or 3 more months of operation. Right now we're spending $700,000 a month on salaries alone. And it fucking sucks. So watching that kind of happen from people that you know, and watching them like have a good dream and have a good output, and then it ending up like that is really shitty. So from a legal standpoint, they're just like really fucked. But recently they've put out some, you know, statements and everything. The original statement, fucking garbage. It was like we hear you, we see you, yada yada yada. That doesn't answer the question. When will we get paid? What is the roadmap of when I will receive money for my services that I provided to you? None of that. They did that.
Right.
And then their CEO, because actually the guy that I know that was a founder, he got fired and then demoted all the way to content creator. And that's been another whole issue. There's been a lot of drama around that. because they're trying
Oh
to
boy.
use him to be the kind of scapegoat in all of this.
Oh
Mhm.
no.
Is saying that he ruined the company. No one man can ruin a company. Nope. We're seeing that with Elon Musk in
Well,
real time right
Elon
now.
Musk, yeah.
I was about to
Counterpoint.
say.
They are up in money right now somehow. No matter how awful this man sucks at his job, they still somehow manage to make money. So there's no one man that can ruin a whole company. Elon Musk is the biggest proponent to show you that. This man made a 24-minute fucking video talking about his life story and what he came out to do and, how he was poor when he grew up. Nothing really talked about how he wanted to, fix this problem. You know what I mean? There's no,
Right.
intelligible, this is how we're going to fix it. This is what we're going to do to fix this. No roadmap, no layout. And people were, literally fighting about this really strongly of, oh, well, he's a good guy and he's trying his best. Put yourself in his shoes. No. I will never put myself in a CEO's shoes that is doing something to make money and then sucking at it. That's fucking ridiculous. I don't care if he was a person with good ideas and we're in a professional world now. If you are not paying people, you are wrong. The end.
Right.
I don't care how good of a person you are.
How they got him away with that for a year?
I don't know how these things work. And
But
that's
also,
kind of
how did the cost get so high? Because I feel like, so like regular sports, right? You would just have clubs, and then eventually people started paying attention. So the money followed
Mhm.
what was already a pretty stable thing. How do you start out with all the money up front before you even really have an audience base and confirmed money in?
Expansion too quickly. It's 100% they expanded too quickly. They
Mhm.
started solely in Halo. This company started in 2020. This started in 2020. It didn't really get boots off the ground until 2021. They were doing well in Halo, placing pretty high in tournaments. They got content creators. They were doing really, really well. And then they saw Rocket League, and they were like, "Ooh, we want to get in on that." And a lot of people were
Right.
like, "I don't think we're ready for that kind of expansion yet. I don't know we have the budget for it to do so, but we're doing well. Maybe it will." Go one more year with Halo and then try again at that point. Of course, people got egos and things like that. I was like, nah, bro, let's do it right now. So they started signing. You got to give big money in Rocket League. Rocket League has a lot of money in it. So if you want to get people and poach some players, good players for your team, you're going to have to spend out of pocket. That's what happened. And that's when everything just immediately started falling apart at that point because they just weren't ready. They went from something I don't know, 30 people to 100, really quickly, stuff like that.
Right.
Just really fucked them. And then they just couldn't keep up with the cost effectiveness of it. And
Dang.
Halo's a bleeding sport. You really putting your money in that is not a good bet. You're gonna lose
Mhm.
money. It's just how it is. And no one knows how to operate. Content creators don't
About
make
to
enough
say,
content.
why is this such a hard thing to figure out?
The biggest thing is
Right.
trying to make it a space that it's not. By trying to copy other spaces, you're already fucking up with that. You don't need big budget
Right.
salary. Because that's the thing, is a lot of these people that play professional esports aren't marketable. They're not making content. That some of them don't even
Right.
stream, things like that. If you're not doing those kind of things to add value to the company, or you're just winning tournaments, that's not enough. That's not enough
Yeah.
to bring the money that you need to bring into the space. And a lot of people don't seem to understand that for some reason. So because of that, if they're not winning, you're not making money.
Mhm.
If you're not getting them commercial spots, ads, they're not making money.
They
Mhm.
need to up the ante and have them playing games while standing on a balance beam or something.
Well, and also regular sports, the biggest benefactor is broadcasting deals, right? So ESPN, NBC, they pay billions to get the rights to leagues. So
Right.
if you're gonna have the Rocket League series, right, of tournaments, say you get the annual deal, that's where the money comes from. You got to get somebody, a broadcaster, who is willing to put it on, and then you hope you get the viewership.
But the thing is, I don't I don't know what the viewership numbers are and people that watch those things, you know?
But that's the thing with esports is it's not really a one-to-one because the viewership is different, right? You already got Twitch, you got it just people
Right.
view it in different ways.
And
right?
that's the big thing that people are struggling with right now. You talk about the broadcasting contract, is do you make broadcasting contracts with this kind of thing? But then that costs money to the viewer. That's going to give you less viewership. Because right now, Twitch, YouTube, all those things are free to watch. I could go watch a
Mhm.
Halo tournament for
Mhm.
free. The Halo
Exactly.
tournament's also in person, but even that is why would I go in person to watch it when I can
Right.
go watch it right now for free?
There's no
Mhm.
added benefit to the live aspect of it.
And that's
Right.
that's where they're kind of struggling. So people are trying to figure out ways to make it because just watching Halo can be fun if you're a big Halo nerd, but also if you're just kind of a passing fan or something like that, or something that you watch it when it's on, someone might with oh, I like the Cowboys, so I watch them when they're on. You might want to go to a game because you get the energy, you get the halftime
Right.
show, you
Right.
get these other things that kind of make it more interesting. When you go to a Halo LAN, it's usually just people playing Halo, and that's about it. They might have a side tournament for other people to just join in as well, and you can play yourself or
Right.
something. But if you don't want to do either of those things, you don't really have much to do.
That's what I'm saying. Up the ante. Make them fight in a boxing ring, determining the order at who fights. Or, I don't know.
I mean, but yeah, you're making good ideas. You're making ideas that I think that they're just not listening to. Because with the content creation aspect too, like even the biggest organizations, like they'll take like their, the Optic Gaming, they'll take one of their teams and like have them eat a hot chip or something, do a hot chip challenge, and it's like that's not the content that people want to see. But they don't know that because they're just people in suits that don't know any better to know. Like, I don't want to see my favorite Halo pro eat a hot chip. But I would like to see him maybe play with viewers, maybe, get more involved,
Right.
maybe start some storylines with another. Say you fucking hate the dude on the other team. I don't know. But do something to make people interested in giving you their money.
Do the wrestling thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's funny you say that because I was watching, just clicking through like at the pool the other day, like clicking through the channels, and there was like on NBA TV, they were playing like 5v5 in NBA 2K. And they had the teams sitting straight across from each other, like literally 3 feet across from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And like these two guys on either team were just like talking shit every single point.
That's the old school shit.
Every single point. And that was like engaged. Like that was like kind of worth watching. It was like, ooh, like is this guy
Right.
gonna shut him
The
up?
worst
Like,
thing that happened for me personally for esports was becoming corporate, because that used to be the lands I used to go to was like, yeah, I would see my favorite pros. I'm standing right behind them and I'm seeing them TV to TV being like, you fucking suck, idiot. It's like you get to have that like
Yeah.
experience. Like everyone, there's
like
this guy
in
named
their
Gandhi.
face.
Yeah, there's this guy named Gandhi that was just like notably for being like the biggest fucking asshole. And he could he played really well to like talk it up. But that created a storyline because you knew he was the villain of every
Mhm.
single time he came into that that land.
Yeah.
So you either love him or hate him.
Yeah, like this man's gonna throw panties at you or something crazy.
Yeah, I wonder
like,
if that's why like fighting game tournaments are more successful in terms of it's
Mm.
1v1, people surround the crowd, type of thing. Like I
True.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to kind of get a good balance between like, because you're gonna want to make it corporate because that's how you get sponsors. But at the same time, you want to make people feel engaged in it at the same time.
Right.
And when you're just sitting at a
Right.
desk like 500 feet away with a giant screen and fireworks, like yeah, it's kind of cool, but also it's like it's just Halo. Like it's not that great.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And they'd also have to
Yeah.
like
So I don't
limit,
know.
limit so like no more free on Twitch and YouTube. You'd have to limit where the viewership
It's basically
can
like
go.
making a pay-per-view event.
Yeah, which I don't know if they're
Yeah,
gonna ever be able to
exactly.
get that done. At least not anytime soon. They could maybe do it for the bigger events for bigger games, but like
Right.
Rocket League, I don't know if they're far enough ahead to be able to do things like that. Halo, absolutely not.
But if they only had them like on their website and then their advertisers are all in one spot, that's
Yeah.
what they need for that kind of thing. But I don't know. It's just so much different with esports. It's so much different.
Something has to change. We have to have a real conversation about it at some point because all of them are bleeding. I don't know a single esports organization that's making money right now.
That's
Even the
crazy.
biggest.
That's crazy.
But I'm sure they'll figure it out. But you just can't jump in with too much money, before it's there.
Yeah, but I say right now I've seen 2 separate organizations go completely under. So I don't know if they're ever gonna come
Oof.
back. So
Damn.
they need to think
Yikes.
fast.
Interesting, yeah.
All right. That is our show, guys. Listeners, you can email us at thefortress@gmail.com, Fortress spelled F-O-U-R. Feel free to email us any questions, feedback, recommendations, or anything like that. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube channel at Fortress of. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your grandma, tell your cat. Follow the 3 R's like a beautiful Bollywood movie. Rate, review, and recommend us to anyone and everyone you know. Thank you, Jackie, for helping edit the podcast every week. Thank you, Brian, for the art, Alex for the music, and Devin, thank you for being here even when you're at your meeting. Next week, I don't know. But I know Ahsoka's starting up this week, and I'm excited about that. So, who knows? And as usual, happy holidays, everyone, and put a coat on. Let's go out there.
Go outside and play with your Nerf guns.
Dude,
Saved
it
by
is
Ryan.
the opposite of cold outside. It is fucking hot as shit where I live.
Hydrate yourself, listeners. All right, we'll see you here
Stay
next week
hydrated.
in another episode in the Fortress of.
Stay hydrated. That could be my advice. My log off line. Stay hydrated.